Today we're going to do a fun project with crayons and a little bit of heat, and I'm going to show you how rocks are formed, and we're going to talk about the three major kinds of rock types: sedimentary, metamorphic, and igneous. To do this project you're going to need crayons. Washable crayons might be a good thing. You're going to need aluminum foil. You're going to need a frying pan. And you're going to also need some way to shred the crayons. You can use a carrot peeler. I'm going to be using a cheese grater. This is going to make a big mess, so you'll see that I have newspaper down. If you do use a cheese grater, just keep in mind it's difficult to get the crayon out of the little holes and out of the inside. First thing to do is pick your crayon colors. You can just use 2 crayons to start with. But pick 2 colors that are really different. I'm going to use yellow and blue. Now I'm going to take my cheese grater and I'm going to shred them. First you really should take the wrapper off. I'm going to grate each of my colors onto their own little piece of aluminum foil. Can do this on a plate, but kind of gets ground into the plate and it's messy. Also be warned, when you shred these things, it's very staticky, and so they'll stick to everything. Now that you've got your crayons in little tiny pieces, you're going to take them onto your big one, your big bit of aluminum foil, and you're going to make a little layer. Not too thick, not too thin, just so you can't see through it. And then we're going to take our other color, in this case blue. You can do 3 colors or more if you want to, but for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to do 2 colors today. You want to try to layer the second color all over the top. You don't want to mix it in. And then, you take one of these pieces even, fold it on top of it. And now we're going to make a sedimentary rock. When you hear the word sedimentary, you hear the word sediment in it. And all that really means is a sedimentary rock is made up of lots of little tiny pieces that settle, right? Sedimentary, like settling, that settle over years in layers. You get layers and layers and layers, and eventually the weight of themselves kind of smashes them down, and they turn into a rock. And that's what we're going to do. We have our 2 settled layers of sedimentary rock, and we're going to smash them down. So take your frying pan, and you're going to push down really hard. If you don't mind washing it afterwards, you probably need to wash it afterwards anyway. You could even stand in the pan, really give it a good hard push down. Get an adult to help you. Someone who weighs more than you do anyway. And we're going to give it a good smashing for like a minute. When you feel like you've smashed it down sufficiently, take it off. You take carefully, pull off your outside there, a couple top layers, and you have a sedimentary rock. 2 layers of rock. Now, it's very fragile. Sedimentary rock tends to be kind of crumbly. So what you're going to do is you can take it carefully off. If it does break, that's okay. Because the next thing we're going to do, we're going to leave it actually in this aluminum foil, and we're going to take it to the stove, and we're going to apply heat to make a metamorphic rock. Here we are at the stove, and I have my crayons in there. I'm just going to turn this on to like lowish, medium low. To make a metamorphic rock out of our sedimentary rock is we're going to apply a bit of heat. And we're going to melt it. But we're not going to melt it too much. We're going to melt it just so that it turns to liquid. And then we're going to take it off. All right, we've got our rock nice and melted. So what we're going to do is we're going to take it off the heat. We're going to be careful not to let it mix. And we're going to carefully take it off here and put it to the side to let it cool. It doesn't take long for the crayon to cool and reharden. And now you have a metamorphic rock. A metamorphic means meta from change and morphic meaning shape. So it's basically changed shape. You've applied heat to it, and what that does is it kind of creates some chemical change in it. And so you have a rock that is still partly the two original rocks, but chemically has solidified into a new kind of rock. Now you can take your metamorphic rock, and you can pop it off, and you kind of got a cool swirly crayon, and you can use this to color with if you like. But we're going to do the next step, and we're going to put it back in there, and we're going to create an igneous rock. For this step, you're going to need a pan or a bowl of cool water, maybe like a plastic container of cool water. You're going to need that at the end, so keep that handy. What we're going to do is we're going to put our crayons back in. We're going to get that heat going, and we're going to take something like a toothpick, something you don't mind getting wrecked, and as it heats up, we're going to swirl it in to get it really well mixed up. When it's nice and melted and mixed, we're going to pour it into our cool water. We pour it into the cool water not necessarily because that's how igneous rock works, but because it kind of makes cool shapes when you do it. So this would be kind of like lava coming out and hitting water. It makes cool shapes. So igneous rock then basically is just rock that have gone through a lot of changes, and you've then applied a lot of heat to them to make them chemically a totally new rock. So originally we had a yellow rock and a blue rock, and now we have a green rock. And you can take this and you can continue on with your rock cycle. So you could take this and you could grade it down again. You could add another color and smush that on top of it and create a sedimentary rock. That's called the rock cycle. So when you're done and you've made a giant mess, heat is actually what's going to help you clean up. What I do to clean up the grater, to get all the crayon off, is I turn the oven on to about 200, 250, and I put the grater on a paper towel on a tray and let it heat. And then it's very easy. Once this is nice and hot, you take some paper towels and you can easily wipe off all that crayon. If you did get some in your pan, just wipe it while it's still hot. The crayon comes off on a paper towel real easily, and you're good to go.